Hi friends, my name is Jake. This is Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at a classic knife style. And why am I looking at a classic knife? Because they're cool, and I like them. I grew up with this kind of knife. Getting close to Christmas time, it might be the time either you want to get somebody you know who's a little bit older a reminder of their childhood days, or maybe you're a little bit older and you want to remind or teach, the younger generation, a niece, nephew, grandchild, about how knives used to be. This is your classic trapper style knife, which is a clip point blade and a spade blade with a bone jigged handle often. You can sometimes get them in wood. This is from Roper Knives. Roper Knives is a sub-brand of American Knife and Tool, American Buffalo Knife and Tool, and I've reviewed some of their stuff, and that's really good. And this knife is actually very well made. I'm surprised that you can get it for under $22 US. On their website, if you want to buy directly from the manufacturer, it's $26.99 US. And on Amazon, it's under $22 US. And they ship to Canada as well. These knives, Roper Knives, since it's an American company that's a little bit smaller, it's a younger company, not too young, but they've been around for a little while. It's hard to find these knives in stores outside of the United States. If you are a knife dealer, if you want to be a knife dealer, go ahead and get some of these knives. There's one other store in the United States that has a lot of Roper knives. Oh, I forget the name of it now. I'll put it on the screen and down below. But especially if you want to be a Canadian dealer, Roper Knives has, this is their large size. This is the Viper. No, it's actually the Viper, Pit Viper. That's what it is. It's the Pit Viper. And that's the handle style. They've got two other handle styles in this size. And then they've got smaller versions, and they got mini versions of this style knife as well. Classic Western North American folding knife. So before I get ahead of myself, why don't you get yourself a sandwich and maybe a drink and get a good seat, get comfortable. The review won't be too long, and it's coming at you right now. I think the colors on this bone is very, very nice, very appealing. This light orangey, yellowy color. They've got their logo in a little disc, like a little coin disc right there. It says Roper Knives. I'll give you a close-up of that. And the close-up doesn't look that sharp. That's because it's a very zoomed-in close-up. But yeah, it does look very nice to the naked eye. And then you've got this little bit of decorative effect here on the bolsters. Those are very nice. It's pinned in place. 3 pins on this side that go all the way through. On this side, 3 pins on the knife to hold it together here. And there's pins through here too, but they've been polished out so you can't see where they are back on both bolsters. So like I said in the intro, it's got 2 knife styles. You've got this clip point blade, which, classic clip point, bit of a belly, small straight section. You can put in a nice little sharpener's choil. On this side right here, it says Roper, and this one's 0104. On this side of the knife, it says Carbon, and then there's the SKU, the model number, which is RP0002CPV, and this is made in China, the People's Republic of China. This is 1065 carbon steel, which is a decent steel, especially for this knife. It's a good steel. Rockwell hardness of the steel is usually around 56, 57, something like that. And, it's done quite well. Full flat grind. You've got the nail nick to open it. And you've got a good spring that holds it. So the spring, the knife wants to stay open. There you go. If you push it that far, it becomes neutral. But that first way first distance, it's springing back. And then once you're closed, you get a little bit past about 45 degrees, and then the spring will take over and pull it in. So yeah, you don't want to get your fingers in the way there, but this is the kind of knife that I grew up with, and I never ever cut myself with one of these. I've never had my finger in the way and got nicked at all. And this is the knife I had. It's easy to get used to these knives. I know a lot of people growing up nowadays, you get these locking knives, and you grew up with locking knives, and they seem a little bit scary, but hey, you're a man, right? You're not scared of knives, and you can handle old style knife just like all your ancestors did. And the spay blade doesn't have anything written on the flats there at all. It's just a polished full flat grind, and you've got a sharp clip right at the end, and that's why they call it a spay blade. It was originally designed for spaying, spay and neuter your pets, for turning male animals into non-gender animals, basically, at least not reproductively. They're non-gender. And so you got a belly here at the long straight section there. No serrations anywhere. This one's also got a nice little sharpness choil there, and the nail nick. And the same thing, it wants to stay open until you get far enough, and then it pulls it in. Well made. Look at these. I'll give you close-up shots of this back here. It's well polished. Everything's the fitment is quite good. Looks great. And like I said, they've got a few others. Okay, let's go over some of the dimensions of this large size knife. Both blades are the same length and the same thickness. So when I give you these specs, it's the same for both blades. The weight of the whole knife is 110 grams, 3.9 ounces. The sharpness on both of them is 140 best. That's sharp. It comes sharp from the factory. That's good. The cutting edge is 7.37 centimeters, 2.9 inches. So basically you got a 3-inch blade. The blade length itself is 8.22 centimeters, 3.24 inches. And the blade thickness, 2.31 millimeters, that's 0.091 of an inch. So just under 1/10 of an inch thick, which is totally adequate for this knife. The blade depth, that's this dimension. It's a little smaller on the spay blade, but this one is 1.65 centimeters, 0.65 of an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind is 0.7 millimeters, which is 0.027 inches, which is good for this steel, so I don't have a problem with that. The grind angle on this guy is 21.2 degrees on this side and 23.9 degrees on that side, so that's good. I've seen a whole lot worse on modern locking folders, of course. Just go through my channel, you can see it. And by the way, I don't say it often enough, I'm keeping a list online, a chart, which shows the grind angles of different brands and models of knives and what steel they use and how sharp they are, just so that you can compare to see what companies are actually sharpening their knives well and what they're doing. Because I really want knife companies, manufacturers, to get better at sharpening knives. They're not doing a very good job right now, overall. This Roper knife right here and the other American Buffalo knife and tool knives that I've had, they're quite good. Certainly within average and above average, sort of in that category. Now the handle length and the grip, basically it's the same thing on this guy, right? 10.52 centimeters, 4.14 inches. The handle thickness is almost 1.5 centimeters. That's just over half an inch, 0.583 of an inch. And the depth of the handle, did I do that when it's, I did it when it's not closed as well. So the depth of the handle right here, that's the widest part. It's almost the same there as it is here. 1.88 centimeters, 0.74 of an inch. And when the knife is closed, the widest distance that this is 2.38 centimeters, which is 0.938 of an inch. So, yeah, that's pretty good, under an inch. They fit very well in the pocket. The total length of this knife, 18 16.7 centimeters. I forgot to get the conversion into inches. So let's see, in inches, it is just over 7.5, almost 7 and 5/8, but not quite. So that's pretty good. And that's pretty much the specs of it. We've got good quality materials. How much does it cost? I mentioned in the intro from the American Buffalo Knife and Tool website, of which Roper is a brand, $26.99 US. You can buy directly from them. I believe they ship these knives to Canada. I'm not totally sure. But you can get a little better price on Amazon, $22.81 US, and they do ship to Canada. So it's easy to get a good price knife at a good quality at the same time in North America. If you're outside of North America, I'm not sure if Amazon.com will ship to you or not, but I've got links down below. If you use my Amazon links, it does help out Canadian Cutting Edge a little bit. And so I appreciate it if you use my links. And go ahead and share my video and my links with your friends. You know, that's always a good thing. What I like about this knife is the fit and finish is good. The quality is good. This bone work is quite good. It looks good. Feels good in the hand. It just gives me that good feeling of, you know, the knives that I had when I was younger. Easy to hold this knife. I've got hands that are between large and extra large. And, you know, being a little over 4 inches in the handle, fits quite well. The fit and finish is good. The strength is good. I like these springs that are holding it back. For those of you who don't know how these knives work, this piece of metal back here, the one that looks like steel color, not brass color, that's basically a long arm. That's a spring. And then when let's focus this up here so you can see. And then when you go to close the knife, when it's open, you go to close it. See how it pushes that up? So that piece of steel, that spring is what's trying to keep the knife open. And that same spring works the opposite way when you're going to close it. And it is open right there a little bit. And when you get closer to closed, it pulls it in and holds it closed. So these knives do not open in your pocket accidentally. And if you're using a knife, when you're actually putting pressure on the cutting edge, it's not going to close on you. So that's the trick to learn when you're using knives. Even when you've got locking knives, it's a very good habit to get into to never put pressure on the spine. Because even locking knives can fail and cut you. So learn how to use a slip joint knife. And if you do, then you will always be safe with a locking knife as well. It's a very good rule of thumb. So let's just quickly go over some close-up views of this knife. You can see that grind polish. It's very nice, nicely done. The sharpening looks a little bit uneven at the tip. You can see a lot of sharpening here on this side and a little bit less on this side. That's not a big deal. That's just the way these are because they are sharpened by hand. But that doesn't bother me at all, especially at this price point. The sharpener's choil, as you can see, is done quite well, so you can sharpen right to the end of the steel and not rub up against the ricasso on the knife. The ricasso is the flat area. That's the full thickness of the blade. And then this transition between the ricasso and the grind angle, that's called the plunge. And so the sharpener's choil is right at that plunge. Beautiful. And just works very, very well. This knife here, this blade, same thing, but it's sharpened a little more evenly on both sides. And it's well done. Being carbon steel, you should keep it lightly oiled. Like put a little bit of oil on a rag and just lightly, wipe it and rub it in. So there's a little bit of oil film on your knives. If you're going to use it for food, then maybe you want to use vegetable oil, peanut oil, coconut oil, whatever you want, for the blades. Otherwise, just simple 3-in-1 oil, totally fine for keeping your knives rust-free. And look at this knife. It's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So like I said, if you're looking for a good quality knife that, really doesn't have much for cons at all, anything for cons at this price point, you might want to consider Roper knives. They've got a lot of different varieties of knives, different styles. And maybe what I'll do is after I sign off, I'll show you a few still pictures of various classic knife styles that they carry. So there you go. Thanks for watching my video. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, guys, always remember to cut towards your chum, not your thumb.